Hi, hello everyone. Today I am came back with the homeostasis part 2. In this video, I am came with a new topic. Before going to start our topic, let me quickly recall the topics of the last video. Homeostasis definition, feedback systems and the negative feedback system, what are the components of negative feedback system, examples and the conclusion of negative feedback system. So these are the topics I have covered in the last video. If anyone is new to this video or channel, you can go and watch the homeostasis part 1 and then come to this video. So today our topic is a positive feedback system. So actually what is positive feedback system? A positive feedback system is a control mechanism in which an initial change in a variable stimulates processing that further increases same change. In the simple words, it responses strengthens the original stimulus instead of reducing it. So it's also known as vicious cycle. So let me tell you the easy formula to remember this positive feedback mechanism. That is, if we get any stimulus, that will cause a response, and that response will cause the more stimulus. That more stimulus will further cause the stronger response, and this process will continuous. So here one example that if you think the positive feedback system is like a snowball rolling down the hill. So, for example, a small snowball rolling down to the hill, that will become the bigger snowball, and that snowball even rolling further down, that become the even bigger, and that finally result in the huge snowball. This is how exactly the feedback mechanism works. So, unlike negative feedback mechanism, positive feedback mechanism does not maintain the homeostasis. Instead of it, it pushes the process forward until the specific event ends it. Here you can see that one flow chart. If we get any change in the primary variable, that change will stimulate the intermediate variable, and this intermediate variable stimulates the outcome variable. This outcome variable further stimulates the primary variable, and primary variable increases the even more, and more primary variable causes the greater stimulation of the intermediate variable, and that stronger intermediate variable produces the more outcome, and that outcome again stimulates the primary variable. So this will create the vicious cycle that continues until the process is completed. And in this image you can see that plus signs that indicates the stimulation of variable. So, this is how the positive feedback system works. Guys, have you ever wondered why labor pains become stronger during the childbirth, or why the nerve impulse spreads so quickly? The answer lies in the positive feedback mechanism. Here you can see the beautiful example, that is pasteurization reflex. In this image, you can see that when the head of the fetus will press on the uterus during the labor, then what happens? The stress receptors present on the uterus will get stimulated, and that stimulus will send to the hypothalamus via afferent impulse, which travels from the pelvic nerves to the hypothalamus, and that hypothalamus will get stimulus to the posterior pituitary gland. That gland will release the oxytocin into the bloodstream. This oxytocin will goes and act on the uterus, and this that result in the uterine contractions. This uterine contraction further release the oxytocin, that again goes and act on the uterus, that will cause the further more strong uterine contractions. So here you have another example, that is luteinizing hormone, which plays a crucial role in the menstrual cycle. This hormone is also acts by the positive feedback mechanism. So once go through this flow chart. So one more example, that is Hodgkin cycle. It is also works by the positive feedback mechanism. Example 4, that activation of digestive enzymes. Activation of digestive enzymes pepsinogen and trypsinogen by the pepsin and trypsin enzymes. So please remember that these are the four classic examples of the positive feedback mechanism, which is pasteurization reflex, LS surge, Hodgkin cycle, and activation of digestive enzymes. So finally come to the conclusion that positive feedback amplifies the initial stimulus, creating the vicious cycle that continues until the specific endpoint stops the process. This is all about the positive feedback mechanism. So before going to end this video, so let me quickly revise that positive feedback versus negative feedback mechanisms. So in the positive feedback, here we can see that effect on stimulus will increases in the positive and decreases in the negative feedback mechanism. And the homeostasis is maintained by the positive negative feedback mechanism, and it is not maintained by the positive feedback mechanism. And the positive feedback process is a temporary, and whereas negative feedback process is a continuous. Self amplifying system is a nature of system in the positive feedback mechanism, whereas in the negative feedback mechanism is self regulating system. So here we have that some examples. Please go through that examples, and thank you for watching this video.